It's Jean Grey's turn. Okay, so I did a test stream while filming this video. Fortunately, no one saw it, because it was terrible. Look at that quality. Okay, I color corrected it. This is what the footage actually looked like. This was filmed on an iPhone X. Not only was the camera angle awkward, the worst part is, the background noise was unbearable. Plugging in the headphones helped reduce the background noise, but then I wouldn't be able to charge the phone. How do people go live on their phones? Any tips would be appreciated. Last week, I updated the VHS Mr. Sinister figure to match his new look in X-Men 97. The figure pops so much more now. Check it out if you're interested. And today, I'm gonna work on Jean Grey. I love that they gave us two Jean Grey heads. She can be Madeline or Jean. They did a really good job with the sculpt, but the colors on this figure just looks off. The neon pastel color palette makes the figure look cheaper than it is, which is a bit unfortunate, because the rest of the X-Men 97 wave is amazing. Let's deconstruct this figure. There's an FAQ on the paint and brushes I use in the description box below. Although Jean's outfit is blue and orange, this blue in my opinion is not working. It leans a little too purple, and in the cartoon, it's more like black with blue highlights than just plain blue. The orange color is pretty good, but on camera, certain parts appear to be brighter. Weird. But the thing that makes this figure underwhelming is how flat the overall figure looks. None of the figures from this wave are cel shaded, but they still look pretty detailed and show accurate. But for Jean, although everything is sculpted in, she still ends up looking quite basic and cheap. And it doesn't help that my figure has way too many defects. Not only is there a dent on the shoulder pad, but it also flares out more than the other one. Her hands also have these blue stains on them too. Now these things I can overlook, but the crests on both heads are off-centered. Quite a bummer, to be honest. Oh, is this normal for figures with ponytails? I was expecting the peg to be more secured. I feel like I'm going to lose the ponytail one day, but I do like that I can swing it around to give Jean more of a dynamic look. Hello, this is Ken. I like making things. Whether it's repainting my figures or making diorama displays, I love making things look awesome. My goal is to elevate my figures so they can shine on my display. Join my DIY venture as I ask myself the same question every week. Can I make it? I'm gonna start with the blue. Based on what I've learned last week with Mr. Sinister, I need a vibrant blue against the black. Otherwise, the two colors kind of blend together. So I'm gonna mix a bit of neon blue with my other blues, and apply it all over the blue parts. I got distracted by the test stream and forgot to sand the figure first, and you can see the difference. The paint isn't gripping on as nicely, which is still fine, but I just have to make sure the first layer is completely dry before I add another. I'm gonna build up the color till it looks nice and opaque. It doesn't have to be too perfect because I'm gonna go over the majority of it with black anyways. Alright, let's add the black. I'm gonna use the official artwork as my main reference. The majority of the upper torso is mostly black, except for her collarbones and the areas on the chest and abdomen. I looked at other references from the show. It seems like the cel shading on the blue doesn't really move, almost like it's permanently part of the animated design, kinda like Rogue. I like this because it streamlines the design. They probably did this to make the animating process much simpler. I just have to make sure the lines are clean and crisp. Okay, I'm pretty happy with how the blue turned out. Now onto the orange suit. The color isn't exactly orange, it's more like a slightly muted mango yellow. This looks about right. Let's see. I like using a cheaper brush to apply the initial base layer. The idea is to apply an even layer of paint on the surface first. I guess kinda like a primer. I don't prime my figures because I'm too lazy, but that's also because I don't really have issues with paint chipping. But of course, use a primer or sand the figure first if that's what helps. After the first layer has dried, I will often switch to a softer brush to smooth out the strokes. I find that I'm sometimes too rough with my base layer, wrecking the bristles, so I try to only use the good brushes on the final layers. Alright, the suit looks evenly coated. Let's seal the paint. On to the shading on the suit, starting with the upper body. I just have to follow and complete the shapes of the shading that's already on the torso. I kinda only have one shot at this, because I don't have the exact shade of orange anymore. That is why I give the figure a coat of matte spray, to protect the orange paint in case I need to do some cleanup work. But so far so good. I just need to extend the shading all the way down to her legs. You know what I realized? I actually haven't really done cell shading on legs like this. All the other X-Men figures have boots that break up the thighs and the legs. Storm was kinda the only one where it's continuous down her legs, but she had those black stripes to help distract things. I did do Symbiote Spider-Man a while back, and I don't love that tracksuit look, so I'm a bit worried that I'm gonna end up with a similar vibe. When you look at Jean, you don't really see any prominent cell shading on her legs, but not adding any at all doesn't feel right as well. The legs would look too bare without them. So I'm gonna try and keep it as subtle as possible, to keep the overall style consistent with my other X-Men figures. I'm gonna place my imaginary light source to my left, which means the shadows are gonna be more prominent on the opposite side. I don't want the cell shading to be perfectly symmetrical. That gives too much of a museum wax figure vibe in my opinion. So I'm only doing minimal shading on the left side of her legs. Ooh, okay. That actually looks pretty decent. One more coat of matte spray. Alright, last but not least, the panel lines. Let's start with the easy part. The lines on the waist and arms are pretty easy to do, but the ones on the legs are trickier. I contemplated about doing them, but I figured I should add them. Nope, I don't like how they look. There's too much contrast. My eyes are drawn straight to them. So let me try softening the lines by adding a sheer layer of mango yellow over the entire suit. I mixed the pigment with some matte medium to give it that sheer finish. I'm hoping that this will not only soften the lines, but also brighten up the suit as well. It did brighten up the suit, but I'm still not feeling the lines. They just don't look right. I took a little break to re-strategize and looked up more Jean Grey references, and this particular screenshot got me. The panel lines and the shading are the same. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna mix myself a light warm brown color and go over the black lines with it. Hopefully this will make the lines look more natural. But before I show you the result, let me work on the heads first. Overall, the faces look really good, but the crests on the foreheads are not centered, and I had to fix that little bit of paint on the chin. I dipped my toothpick in acetone and I'm gonna pick on that area to remove the paint there. Okay, that worked. Now I can paint, starting with the faces. To complete the cel-shaded look, I have to flatten the color and cover up the little bit of blush on the cheeks. The paint I'm using has a bit of pink in it. I find that the skin tone they use leans a little too yellow. In the show, her skin tone is generally more pink than yellow, except when they needed to differentiate Jean from Madeline. Okay, next. I'm gonna cover up the forehead area with the same blue I used on the body, so that I can reshape the crest with black paint, by painting the areas around the crest black, instead of the other way around. I will have more control this way, as I can focus on one edge at a time, and not worry about the opacity, or trying to maneuver my brush around the corners of the crest. Now all I need to do is paint the rest of the headpiece black. As for the hair, I'm going to do the same thing I did with Madeline. First the base with the reddish-orange color, and then a darker shade in the areas where the shadows form. I tried adding that band of shading on the back of her hair, like how it was in the show, but I don't think it translates well in toy form, so I ended up removing it later. All there's left are the black lines. My Micron pen decided to be on Team Madeline today, so I ended up using a brush on Jean. Alright, here's Jean with the hair down. I don't love the final result. I think the black lines are a touch too harsh, but I do like the more pinkish skin tone. The ponytail head on the other hand looks pretty good. I prefer this head more. It just looks more like Jean Grey, if that makes sense. Alright, here's Jean Grey all finished. Overall, the figure looks great. The black lines on her head and the lighter lines on her legs actually balanced out pretty well as a whole. I was worried that it would be too distracting, but when you look at the entire figure, everything worked out. The painted colors just suit Jean Grey much better. It kinda makes the original figure look a bit radioactive, like she just came out of the microwave or something. I love the ponytail look. This is gonna be how I'm displaying my Jean Grey. That said, she's not perfect. After doing the figure, I remember reading a comment from my Madeline video about the Gundam pens. This person mentioned that brown lines work best on yellow, orange, and red, while grey works best on white, and black on blue. So if I could go back in time, I would have used brown on the hair and legs. That would have made the figure look even better. What do you think? Do you like what I've done? I personally really like it. The figure looks so much more high-end and show accurate, and the lines kinda blend in over time. I was disappointed at first, but once everything is put together, the lines stop looking distracting. I think it's because my eyes are drawn upwards towards her face, so my attention doesn't stay on her legs anymore. Although the original paint job isn't the best, I still really appreciate how show accurate the sculpts are for these X-Men 97 figures. That said, the scale between Goblin Queen and Jean Grey seem a little off. I can't tell if Madeline is just a bit too tall or Jean is a bit too short. They just don't look that great side by side, but individually they are fine. Alright, let's end this for the photo shoot. Oh, a small but also big thing that I really like about this figure is that Jean is very easy to balance. I had a lot of trouble balancing Rogue, but I don't have that problem with Jean. The only downside I see is that the range of motion for the head with the hair down is quite limited, but the ponytail head on the other hand is awesome. I love swinging the ponytail to make it look more dramatic. There's this added sense of motion to her. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Give it a like and subscribe to see more content like this. And give me some tips on live streaming as well. I don't think I'm ready yet, but I want to figure out the technical side of things first before doing another test stream. So until then, stay inspired and I'll see you next week. I can make it, so can you.